Hey guys, welcome back to Pages, Panels, and Pictures, your one-stop spot for all things comics, movies, and more. Thor Love and Thunder just released in theaters yesterday, and I know that my co-hosts Tildy N and Tony Haru cannot wait to talk about it with me, so with full spoilers ahead, let's go with the speed of Odin's Ravens.
I gotta be honest, man. This is some of the most fun I've had in a Marvel movie in a minute. My
Since
cohorts have their
Guardians
takes.
1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much, dude. What do you think, Tony?
I mean, I was super excited. This is my first time on Pages. Super excited to be, on Pages panels this time. I actually got to, go see the movie with Red in person, so that was big hype. I was super excited for this movie. I'm actually not a big comics guy, but going to see Marvel movies is something I enjoy doing. DC too, but Thor is one of the ones I look more forward to. Chris Hemsworth, just somebody I just enjoy going to see. Act in general. Uh, so this was a movie I was very much going into, looking forward to. Really delivered for me. It's a Thor movie, so it has its goofy moments, but I loved every minute of this movie. There was really nothing here that I going into disliked at any real point. There were some bits that other people are gonna go into saying, "Oh, well, I didn't care for this, I didn't care for that," and I'm gonna say everything about this movie I just utterly enjoyed. Even some of the scenes, like I said, that other people are gonna be like, "I didn't care for this." I just wholly enjoyed the movie, just straight up with that.
Yeah,
That's an absolute fact. There definitely were parts of like the comedy in the movie it was the most comedic Thor movie. It was one of the funniest, most enjoyable times we've had in the MCU since Guardians 1 and 2. But sometimes like my probably only complaint about the movie is sometimes the comedy just undermines some of the deeper moments. Like Jane talking about her cancer gets turned into a joke like 60% of the time. But as a guy who's very cynical and very fucking self-deprecating, that shit is what I do in real life. So I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
seeing
that's
Natalie Portman do that, as goofy as it was, made it feel a little more close to my personal life. But
yeah.
aside from that, the visuals were insane. The action, bro, this movie had so many different fight scenes in it, and they were all fantastic. Uh, even like I guess we'll start to get into spoiler territory so we can talk about the good stuff. So, for the viewers at home, this is your obligatory spoiler warning that we're giving you right now. Turn back if you don't want spoiled. All right, let's go. So, those fucking screaming goats, I know they showed them in the trailer briefly, but they
yeah.
had such a prominent part in the film, and they had me fucked up every time when they would just fucking go crash landing into stuff and just shriek, and then it just cuts to what's happening in the scene. That's such a fucking good comedy transition piece. Like, uh, that being said, let's talk about the characters and the story because I think this movie, everything I've seen online, a lot of people are saying that it doesn't give growth to a lot of these characters.
Mhm.
And I think it kind of just ignores Ragnarok more and focuses on the relationships that were built in the first two movies outside of Valkyrie and Korg. And the Jane Foster relationship was so perfect. Like I'm not a big fan of Natalie Portman. In my opinion, she kind of fucking blew the Star Wars prequels, and I haven't gotten over it. And then her complaining about the script for Thor 2 and fucking all that nonsense. Patty Jenkins leaving, her not wanting to do Ragnarok. I haven't been the biggest fan of hers lately. But she killed it. She was absolutely perfect in the role. Her relationship with him felt real. It felt genuine. It felt very awkward, which is exactly what I expect out of what they've turned Thor's character into. He is, as much as it sounds like an insult, he's a bumbling idiot now. And it still doesn't mean he's not a great hero. It still doesn't mean he's not a badass because he still proves that in every scene. Like when he acts like a jackass in the opening battle scene, when he just goes and fucking plays and fucking wins that war against those aliens. My man does a split to stop two speeder cars between his legs. It's
Crazy.
it's one of the funniest scenes in the movie to me, honestly. But the fact that Thor's doing that much damage while being this goofy shows that of all the characters that we have currently in the MCU, he is the only one who can pull off that funny character and still be taken as the god that he is. So I think those two were really well done. Valkyrie had a lot of growth. They openly showed that she's a lesbian more. And I guess Korg's race are just all men. Like, I don't necessarily think Korg's gay. I think Cronins are all just guys. So
That's what it looked like to me.
it's like Namekians almost. So, but they definitely made him gay because this guy had like the porn mustache and stuff. His husband, but
Dwayne. His name was Dwayne.
Dwayne the Rock.
Yeah, dude. That's
Dwayne.
exactly how I felt. I was like, oh man, it's Dwayne the Rock, man. I was like, Vin Diesel took a shot at the Rock. Oh no.
I'm
Yeah,
not
it
gonna
was-
lie, dude. I definitely every time I hear the name Dwayne, I hear it in Punk's voice. I know we're on the wrong show for that, but like Dwayne,
that's a
like I just hear
fact.
it every time.
I mean, we may be on the wrong show, but there's like 3 potential wrestlers involved here. So I mean,
And,
Yeah.
and Chris Hemsworth's playing Hulk Hogan, so he ain't get this big to play Thor. He got that big to play the Hulkster.
Oh, that works for me, brother.
It's gonna be
I
so
can't
good.
I can't
But
wait.
anyway, yeah, the heroes in this movie were a great time. But how do you guys feel about Gore, Christian Bale?
Awesome.
so well played.
Yeah. I was good. I mean, he had me. Even like I'm gonna admit, the opening scene, like with the daughter and stuff, was a bit much for me. I was just like, buy me dinner first, please. So it's a
It
little.
opened very tragically. It felt like when Hawkeye's family got snapped in Endgame.
It was worse than that. I got to actually watch this kid die. Like,
That's a fact. And then in the end, spoiler alert once more, it happens again in the reverse. Like
It fucks
him
up,
dying
though.
for her.
she dies, and then he goes to the fucking gods, and they're like, "Huh, fuck you."
But
It's just like, whoa.
shout out to Little Love. That's actually Chris Hemsworth's daughter, and his son played the young version of Thor in the intro cinematic.
2 sons,
Yo, that's
twins. They
hypey.
alternated.
That's real hypey.
Yeah,
Hell
it's,
yeah.
it's a really cool little Easter egg that they did there. And then the fact that Thor looks so uncomfortable when she calls him Uncle Thor had to have been like real world off-putting to call your dad uncle or hear your daughter call you uncle.
I
Isn't
bet.
it true that she's a new character though? Like she's not in the comics or
Yeah,
anything. right?
I've never heard of her. Gore's kid dies in the comic and is never fucking reincarnated or reborn. But overall,
And that's
yeah,
from his like motivation in the comics, though, correct? Like
yeah,
about
his wife and daughter die after like he sees his mom die as a kid, and like he still prays to the gods his whole life, and then once his family dies is when he stops.
I
But
want to see him come back, bro.
yeah, I definitely would like it. I'm not a big Christian Bale fan. I normally can't stand him. He beats his mom. He beats his sister in real life. He was not a
That's
good
not
Batman.
funny.
He complained about being Batman 100% of the time. But God damn it, that guy gets into a role. I love like the creepy, twisted smiles and the like almost jester like way he carried himself. It felt like a man who was genuinely happy to be doing what he's doing, and it made him all the scarier. It made him feel more committed. He didn't have that much screen time in the movie for me, but every time he was on screen, he took center stage no matter what he was doing. It was really well done. And overall, yeah, I think that was great. And I guess the final character I want to talk about before I get into some goofy shit with y'all, some trivia and stuff. Eternity. Okay, Eternity is like second or third ranked most powerful being in Marvel Comics, under like the one above all, which is God or the representation of him. And they did this shit so well for such a being that you needed to give this cosmic presence. Just putting them in this world that felt like almost like Buddhist nirvana. It was such a fucking perfect rendition. He looked exactly like he does in the comics, and I didn't understand the whole he's Shenron thing where he was just granting wishes, but he can do that type of shit. It's not like you just get a wish, but it's not out of the realm of his powers, so it's not a gripe in my opinion. It was all just really well done. It was a little fast paced. I know Phil can't be here, but he said in the chat to us that it was really good but really fast paced. I agree with that. It was kind of like jump and you miss it. What happened to get to the next scene type stuff. But pay attention to the fucking movie and you'll be fine.
I think the more and more I think about it, bro, I'm gonna be honest. I think this movie is like probably in my top 10 of the last 5 years. As far as feel goods.
I'd say in the past 10 years even, honestly. Because like the only movie that we've gotten in the past 2 years that was better than this, in my opinion, was Spider-Man No Way Home. It's honestly going to be really hard for any movie to ever beat Spider-Man No Way Home outside of Endgame and Infinity War.
I ranked this one above that as far as feel goods because Spider-Man still had this movie had deaths and shit, but like not one time when somebody died was I feeling bad. I still was riding.
I'd put it second behind Endgame because Cap's ending to his story was so fucking perfect for me. That was the ultimate feel good moment, or him picking up Mjolnir.
I fucking cried that whole movie.
So much, and like I didn't even know what emotions I was crying about. There were so many flowing through me, but but this movie, it did a good job, in my opinion, of like showing those hard moments, like Jane's death. It hit me, but I didn't cry because it was like such a hopeful, upbeat, uplifting tone. Not even like the moment was genuinely sad, but the vibe of the scene felt so hopeful.
Bro, she died like a fucking Viking.
Like a
floated off in the fairy dust. It was the happiest death I've ever seen.
It was so
well,
perfect.
and I think that was a callback to the to when they were doing the play in New Asgard when the actor who's playing Odin refers to the fairy dust. And
it's because Odin in Ragnarok, when he dies, he turns into that same dust.
Right.
But that's only because that's how when you die and when you go to Valhalla.
Right. Yeah.
But
I was just mentioning how they referenced it actually in Love and Thunder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit was fantastic. I love like the use of blood in this movie. Everyone had different colored blood, so they could just show fucking wild gore. Like when they were fighting Zeus's soldiers, that was so violent. They were like slitting people's fucking throats and stuff, and it was just.
I mean, were they really bleeding, or were they just turning into sand? Because that looked a lot like
I was gonna say
sand.
It was just gold, but it was holy fuck. That was a violent scene. I loved it.
I loved it too.
Or Zeus just taking a lightning bolt to the chest. That was just nuts.
That scared me. Honestly, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, I'm thinking, okay, because I know how he's all like, who do you think we are, the God Police? No, but I assume there are those.
And like Tony Haru had a great point about this actually leaving the theater, so I'll let him take this one.
Yeah.
Dude, I just sat there and I was like, so why does this whole room full of like what was literally referred to in the movie as like the highest gods in the fucking in all of creation, right? Nobody gets upset when they interrupt Zeus's meeting.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be what Zeus referred to as an important meeting, regardless of whether or not it was just Zeus wanting to have Zeus time to show off. None of these gods get upset when the meeting gets interrupted. Now I was just like, what is up with that? That seems like multiple of these gods should be intervening and stuff, regardless of the Zeus outcome.
And my thought, knowing what we know after the post-credit scenes, which we're going to get into in a minute, where the fuck was Hercules?
Or his other kids, like Perseus and fucking...
They'd get fucking floored by Thor. Let's not give them the credit.
Fair enough, the demigods. I mean, I don't know, man. Fucking, where was Poseidon or...
Yeah, the brothers.
I don't even know what those guys like do in Marvel Comics, honestly. I've never even They don't even have like pages in the handbooks and shit. Like it's just
Much.
Zeus and Hercules. But yeah. So I mean, that being said, we let the cat out of the bag on that one. The first post
Yeah.
credit scene in the movie. Zeus is actually alive. Surprise, surprise. He's a god. We've seen Thor take pretty wild beatings and shit before. We've seen Odin, we've seen Loki all take beatings that they've survived. So, no shit, he's gonna be alive. And he is pissed, and he is sending his strongest warrior, his son, Hercules. I've been waiting for this. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I don't know if you guys, either of you, really know who Hercules is. He is a big time Avenger in the comics. Him and Thor always have like this great fucking like warrior rivalry going on. They've come to blows so many times in the comics. Hercules, he just likes to drink, fight, and fuck. He is like the embodiment of what a god should be, and somehow it works as a hero. Like Thor, at the end of the day, does heroic shit. He lives for Asgard, but he saves people. Hercules will save people, but he's just trying to do like what he wants. He it's the same origin as comic Hercules. He did like the 13 trials or whatever, but I don't know. He's just a different breed in the comics, bro. He's such a badass. And I forget the guy who's playing him, his name. I looked it up last night.
Looks
I'll
like
get
Ivan
that.
Drago.
Fucking but smaller.
Or not Ivan Drago, the guy who played his kid in
Yeah,
Creed.
Baby Drago. Fucking what was
That is
his
him,
name?
isn't it?
Nah, it's some I forget his name. But
Hyped. I thought it was him.
nah, Baby Drago played Razorfist in Shang-Chi.
Brett Goldstein.
Yeah.
Right.
He's in
He did.
what?
I said, right, he did. The dude out of Shang-Chi. I had to think about it.
Yeah. And I wish he would have had a better role, honestly. That guy's built to be a fucking Marvel villain.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so this is a hopeful thing for Thor 5. I know it's not really much. It's like when people mock the MCU about sitting through a 10-minute credit sequence to hear the introduction of the name Gloop Glorp and some fucking random dickhead walks on screen. It's exactly what it is every post-credit scene, and I'll eat that shit up every time.
Me
But,
too.
but
I
the next
mean,
post-credit scene,
I sat there happy as a pig in shit, and I'm like I said, I'm not the big comic guy here, but I sat there happy as a pig in shit. What the fuck?
hell yeah. It's just hope for that we know we're getting a Thor 5 essentially. And then
I mean, that's what I sat there for. I sat there. I'm like, are we getting a Thor 5? Like that's what I sat there for. I'm like, what's the like a spin? It's like spinning the wheel. Like what are we getting next? Like,
oh
is there
boy.
another Thor movie? Like what's coming out next? You know.
And dude, and do I got an idea for that for you guys involving the second post credit scene? Well, for one, we do get the words Thor will return on screen, so that's a confirmation outside of Hercules. And then the second post credit scene is Jane going into Valhalla. She's met by Heimdall, and well, that's pretty much it for the post credit scene. But in the comics, once she dies from the cancer in the books, she goes to Valhalla, and she is eventually reincarnated and allowed to become a Valkyrie. So she ends up one of the Valkyries and shit. And it is honestly like the perfect end. I know we talked off screen a lot about this movie, and I was saying how I wanted that to be the outcome for her.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's not going to be the outcome, but the continuation. Chances are, what we're going to get is Thor and Hercules scrapping it out, and they're going to realize it's a misunderstanding. Zeus is a piece of shit, and the movie's going to be Jane Foster, Thor, and Hercules going up against Big Daddy Z, Zeus himself.
I mean, I'm ready to see more Russell Crowe. I know the accent kind of went in and out, and I was a little trippy on that, but like I loved Russell Crowe as Zeus in this. I thought it was real fun. I didn't want to dwell too much on the Chris Hemsworth ass scene, but fucking I loved that. I was just real happy, just overall.
Okay.
Just
So I got
Go
to
ahead.
comment on that a little bit. Okay.
Go for
So
it.
I'm definitely super excited that we finally got some nudity in the MCU. We're breaking ground. I'm not like the biggest fan of man ass, but if I'm looking at man ass, it better be a fucking sculpted one like Chris Hemsworth.
I mean, after what happened with the boys this season and getting to see Jensen's ass. I know that's another video for another day, but I mean, I'm pretty happy over the past like 2 weeks now. I've gotten to see two heroes' asses. I mean, I'm riding high.
Those are America's asses now.
Those are America. Those are my asses now.
But God, I hated Thor's R.I.P. Loki back tattoo. That was one joke in the movie that did not land with me at
Oh,
all. Oh
it,
my
it was
God.
it was bad. Yeah, I can say as somebody who rides Thor pretty close to the jock,
Right?
I was also not a fan of that one myself. I can definitely agree the Rip Loki was definitely a little more cringy than it was funny. But I definitely felt like you said, a lot of the character growth and people saying there wasn't much. I definitely disagree on that. I thought Thor, like, his growth, I thought was pretty evident because he grew through the love sick phase. Like he grew through this love sickness. He grew past his essentially his first love, or what was equated to being his first love,
Yup.
and he grew through this. Jane grew through her mortality, because I feel like that's what the cancer represented is her the cage of her mortality, and the representation of her mother leaving and all that. And Valkyrie grew past the scars of the Valkyries dying. So I felt like all the characters really grew past some form of past trauma and stuff. So to say that there was no real character growth is to really see the movie in a narrow-minded aspect. And even um Christian Bale's character, I can't
Gore.
I'm Gore, yeah. Um Even he grew past seeing this narrow-minded aspect of revenge, and instead of seeing the encompassing of love versus the revenge.
Yup.
Like he realized, even if it was in a single moment, for only a single moment, he saw that the revenge path he was seeking was wrong. And he, instead of, and I understand it's a cliche moment, blah blah blah, and it's only a
Marvel's
plot
cliche.
moment. But that's the thing, like, I understand it's a cliche moment, I understand it's only a plot moment, but instead of wishing for the gods, or wishing for Jane to be healed, he wishes his daughter back, and he trusts in a god to raise his daughter. And I feel like that shows character development and growth.
Yup.
Even if it's only on a very small level.
It felt like
So
it felt like back in the old Spider-Man movies, the Sam Raimi trilogy. Every time they would, like, right at the end of their story, they would do something that would let you know that there's hope, that they're not a complete piece of shit. Like Doc Ock sacrificing himself to drop the mini sun into the
yeah,
river and shit.
yeah,
And
yeah, absolutely.
I'm a sucker for those types of superhero stories. I always have been. I know I
I mean,
compared
I
it.
feel like those are good super. I feel like I feel like it's that redemption of humanity kind of
Mhm.
deal. And I'm a huge, as somebody who's very pessimistic towards humanity as a whole, especially in the times we live in. I this is the type of stuff that it helps me get out of bed in the morning.
Hell yeah. I couldn't agree with that more. I know, like, I always feel somewhat weird saying it, but I almost relate, like, outside of my friend group, I probably relate to, like, characters in movie and TV and shit more than other people in the real world. Like, I don't know, I disassociate with the real world. So these characters are my in for those,
Yeah,
like,
no, I
values
can
and emotional
absolutely see
moments.
that. like I said, it was like I said when you were saying that like people were saying that there's like no character growth. I was like, because like if there was no character growth, like Thor would have just called Stormbreaker back immediately.
Yep.
Because that's what Thor at during Endgame and during Infinity War, that's what that Thor would have done.
That's a fact.
Because that Thor just wanted to beat Thanos. That's what that Thor would have done. And I understand that wasn't a part of this movie, but like he was showing restraint. He cared for these people, and in the end he did call Stormbreaker back, but he only did so because he cared for the people involved. And I just so like I say, I don't understand. And Valkyrie showed she had developed a relationship with Jane.
Yep. And that was such a good, like, it almost felt like Cap and Bucky together type
Yeah,
palling
no,
around
absolutely.
friendship shit. I
It
loved
was
it. It felt so
it
genuine.
was it was that's because it was super genuine. It was genuinely like they had been friends from like genuinely longer than they had actually known each other.
And I always think of that as like, I imagine it being that Valkyrie and Thor are so similar to each other that
Yeah, I
like
can see
she
that.
would resonate with Jane easily on the same level that he would.
Yeah. Like I said, because I like Valkyrie's character a lot. Just because I think she's more of an underappreciated character because she's not this god level character, because she's not the mainstay in the movie. Um, so I feel like she's a more underappreciated character.
Hmm.
But and with how well she manages New Asgard in the movie, with how well she deals with everything. I mean, look at how well she handled the situation when the Shadows first kidnapped the kids.
That's a fact. I definitely loved seeing like the best growth for her to me was definitely seeing her finally become like a proper king to Asgard. Uh, I know she's still not the whole way there, but we also know we're getting more Thor, and
Yeah,
I'm glad that these characters didn't have complete closure because that symbolizes the end of their story. We're
right.
getting years more of these characters based on how willing Chris Hemsworth sounds. When he was asked about it, he said he'll be playing Thor as long as Marvel will have him. So
I
like,
mean, I'm happy about that.
yeah, Thor's always been one of my favorite characters in the MCU. Even back when he had the bad bob cut and dyed eyebrows. But yeah, I'm just so excited for the future of this franchise. Ragnarok was a breath of fresh air compared to what we got in previous Thor movies. I personally like the first two Thor movies more than most people do. I know Thor Dark World is regarded as the worst MCU movie most of the time, but there are some great moments. Loki's growth throughout Dark World is fantastic. The whole first movie felt like a Thor comic book, and we got the introduction to Hawkeye in that movie for one. And overall, the characters throughout the franchise have just been enjoyable from like start to finish. Like the first movie, we had Kat Dennings as Darcy Lewis. That's shout out to her making an appearance for a little bit in the start of the movie, also with Jane at her treatments. And
Yeah,
Dr. Selvig was such a zany, like mad scientist type character, and then he went nuts after the first Avengers movie because of the Loki mind control. He made a little on-screen cameo. It's cool to see that his character's not crazy anymore. But yeah, this collection of characters just really hits it out of the park. Sometimes Korg's jokes don't land, but even then, he's still just such a goofy, awkward character that they land in a way that they shouldn't. Probably, it's really fun. It's really conflicting, and somehow works. And yeah, this whole group is just—it's just honestly probably the best group of friends since the Guardians of the Galaxy.
well, while we have some BS time, let's talk a little bit about the Guardians of the Galaxy portion.
Hell yeah.
I absolutely adored just just the giving Star-Lord the ship scene.
Yes. All those scenes worked so well. I think it made Star-Lord look a little bit less like a buffoon because he was just like, no, I'm not playing that shit this time type shit.
Yeah.
And I like to see that yet again because how can people say there's no character growth? Even Star-Lord had character growth in this.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
just like everybody else is just completely ignoring the conversation between the two of them. Nobody else is playing into it. Nobody else like they're just ignoring the fact that they're even talking. They like the entire time they're having any type of conversation, they're just completely ignoring it.
Yep, that shit is so. Yeah, I definitely think of all the things that people could complain about, the comedy should not be one of them. It We've talked about so many different moments throughout this film that were just like some of the funniest moments in all of the MCU, not just in the past 10
Yeah.
years. So like I know this people are saying like it's a comedy, it's a rom-com. Yeah, that's what it was advertised as.
I mean, yeah, it's literally called Love and Thunder. Like,
Right?
I
Which
mean, like
also
the
shout out to
goats.
that cool little play with the name since Love is Gore's
Yeah.
daughter's name.
Yeah. Like the goats is something I would have thought would have been complained about more. Cause like when they first got the goats, I was like, oh my God, I am going to die. These goats are literally going to kill me. I was like, I don't know how these goats are not going to make me leave this movie theater. But somehow like the goats worked.
Yep, they
Like
landed for me so
the
well.
goats the goats like I like when I first saw the goats I was like there is no way this will land. I was like there is no way this will land with me. And these are just two obnoxious fucking screaming goats. But every other scene they were just a fucking knockout punch and I was just like, "Oh my God, this is fucking hilarious. I love it."
Yep.
And I was just amazed. I was like I said, if you had told me in that first scene, because you had seen it before or something, like these goats are going to be your favorite part of the movie or one of your favorite parts of the movie, I was like, there's no fucking way. I don't fucking believe you. There's no way these goats are going to be fucking anything but loud and obnoxious, and I hate them.
That's a fact.
BC's back.
He has returned. What's up,
Yes,
brother? I was waiting
shit,
for you to
man.
get into some good talking
Trivia.
points and whatnot.
Before we continue, I want to give you guys a word from the sponsor of our channel, Studio 5 Star. If you like pop culture graphic tees and decal stickers inspired by all your favorite comics, movies, and anime, then Studio 5 Star is the place for you. They have great product, better deals, and new limited time merch dropping weekly. Actually, one of those new designs just so happens to be our Thor Love and Thunder inspired t-shirt, Feeling the Thunder, which is available now, but get that while you can because it's not going to be there forever. And use promo code PANELS at checkout for 30% off of your order. You can support us by checking them out on Etsy, and you can go follow them on Instagram at Studio 5 Star Official.
So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about all four Thor movies. Where do you think this one landed amongst them all? Because I know like the common consensus is Dark World is the worst and Ragnarok's the best. But do you think this lived up to Ragnarok's hype?
Yes. And I think it residually carries on that vibe and definitely takes it to a new level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. It was the best for me, honestly.
This the one.
Said we the ones.
We the ones.
But
Love and Thunder the ones.
yeah,
For
that
sure.
shit was
Fucking
I don't know
throw
if
the
it was a better written or better quality movie than Ragnarok, but it hit better for me. It landed so heavily for me.
that's the thing. Like if I watch the two movies like side by side or like one after another, I couldn't tell you like I like whether I thought like one was better written or like this or that about it. But like something about this movie just felt better to me. Like I can't tell you like what the X factor about this movie was, but it like cuz like I've always liked Ragnarok and I know the memes are around like, oh, bore Ragnarok, those type of memes around, but like I always liked Ragnarok but like this movie just was like I said, I don't know what it is about this movie. I don't know if it was just how well the comedy scenes flowed with the action scenes. I don't know if it's just how well the story flowed. I know, like I said, there's some pacing, quick pacing, but I don't know what it was. But to me, everything just seemed to be perfect, or not perfect, but everything just seemed to click perfectly to me.
Yeah, I definitely couldn't agree more. And for me, like a lot of it was honestly being able to see this character again that we haven't seen since Endgame. Oh my God, I miss my original three Avengers, like Cap, Iron Man, and Thor. I just want to see them on screen doing stuff again. And this gave me a little taste of that. And thank God Thor's in the MCU. Thor is easily my favorite Avenger. In the comics, Cap is easily my favorite Marvel character almost. But yeah, so seeing Thor come back and having this reacquaintance with him is fantastic. And honestly, seeing a character or a villain that I didn't think we'd get so early in the Thor, like in the Phase 4, we don't have a lot of Spider-Man stuff, but the Ebony Blade, or not the Ebony Blade, what is it called? The
Necroblade.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they call it the
Necrosword.
Necrosword. Its name is the All Black, the Necrosword, depending on who you ask, and it's technically it belonged to the god of the symbiotes, Null, and was the original symbiote technically. So I feel like the shadow monsters and the creatures and demons and shit he was summoning and using in his armies had to have been at least primitive forms of symbiotes and stuff, which might not amount to anything. I know that in the end of the movie, the blade gets turned to dust and stuff, but I mean, if Null gets resurrected in the MCU, it would be cool to see him be resurrected with his blade. That being said, you guys can find my co-host Tildian on all forms of social media at Tildian the Fantastic. There you can catch up on all his music releases, including this song you're hearing behind you right now. And then you can run over to Twitter and check out my man Tony at Tony_Haru. There you can get some updates on some wrestling news. You can get some pretty cool interactions with a pretty cool guy. And then you can drop by Instagram and follow me at Roach the Boy Wonder. There you can get updates on this channel. You can get some pretty cool artwork, and you can even hit me up for art commission needs. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notified when we drop another episode of this. Tight Talk on Turnbuckles, Roach Boys Comic Corner. You never know what we're coming with, but if you're rocking with us, we're rocking with you.
And with that being said, this has been Pages, Pictures, and Panels. I am your host, Tildy N, with my co-hosts Roach Boy Red and Tony Haru. We'll see you later.
Agamotto, keep my cape for photos. Your bitch in my dojo, like fuck Dormammu. Drafted by my OG, she was ancient. Multiverses breaking, sling ring when I'm banging. Do what I got to all go. Agamotto, keep my cape for photos. Your bitch in my dojo, like fuck Dormammu. Drafted by my OG, she was ancient. Multiverses breaking, sling ring when I'm banging. Do what I got to.